What's up, everybody? Welcome into First Take from Los Angeles. We are in the heart of LA Live for ESPYs week here. Staples Center right across the street. And the guys back another day. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith.
Wait, you came back?
We
thought you'd say enough of this stuff.
And you are both a handful.
Yeah.
No, you guys have been great.
Well, I'm here. She was going to come back. I don't know about you.
Oh, really?
But I'm
you got
here.
it like that?
Anybody that's hosting this show with me, they gonna want to come back. I'm not so sure they'll want to come back.
Well, you might not want to come back after I get through with you today.
Well, you guys were a little fired up in the meeting. I don't know. It's only day 2 for me. I'm Molly Karen, by the way, but a little feisty.
I will confess, considering the weather and the set, I'm not too anxious to go back to Bristol.
You're liking it?
I'm just saying.
I feel like I'm learning about you. Miami, Atlanta, and LA.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm catching a pattern
You're
here.
going to learn he's not in Bristol very often.
Oh, okay. Okay. I won't put anybody's business in the streets, but I'm starting to get it here. All right, coming up, we got a busy show today. Chris Tucker from Friday. He has a new Netflix comedy. We're going to discuss that. And will Kevin Durant stay in OKC? That is coming up as well. But first, how about them Cowboys?
No.
They let DeMarco Murray, who led the league in rushing, walk. Now will they let Dez Bryant, who led the league in touchdown reception, sit? Dez Bryant is not having the franchise tag and is adamant about wanting a long-term deal from Dallas before Wednesday's 4 p.m. Eastern deadline. He tweeted this on Monday. As much as I love football on my beautiful babies, I apologize, Cowboy Nation, but I will not be there if no deal. Fact. Bold words. Would it be smart for the Cowboys to keep the franchise tag on him?
Stephen A. Smith, no, it would not be smart. But I am here to tell you that I'm going to guess at this hour, as we get close to that witching hour tomorrow, as you said, 4 o'clock Eastern, that Jerry Jones believes it would be a pretty shrewd gamble for one big reason. You know and I know, as he pointed out to Dez in that tweet, Dez loves to play the game of football. Dez loves to be around the fellas in the locker room, even on the practice field, and especially on night before games and on game days. And my fear as a Cowboy fan, born and raised, is that Jerry Jones will use Dez's love for football against him in this negotiation. That Jerry will sit back and let Dez huff and puff as he did yesterday and threaten to miss all of training camp and maybe even threaten to miss some regular season games. And Jerry will gamble that Dez's love for football will bring him back to training camp maybe for the last 2 or 3 weeks and definitely for the first game of the regular season. But I believe that Dez's pride is bigger than his love for football. We know that Dez can be over-emotional on occasion, and I believe that if Jerry leaves the tag on him, even though it is almost $13 million that he would make, that Dez's pride will get to him, he will get over-emotional, and that he will be prone in the first few weeks of the regular season to sulking and pouting and being a little bit of a distraction for a football team that I think has a good chance to not just win the NFC East, but win the Super Bowl this year. So I'm going to say, I think it's going to be way better than it was last year, now that Sean Lee is back, a guy that you continue to diss on this show.
I do not diss him. I just acknowledge the fact that the brother's always hurt.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
All.
I think he's not going to be hurt this year.
All right.
So my bottom line is that keeping the tag on Dez will hurt the football team more than it will help the salary cap.
Skip Bayless, I agree with you in that regard. If you franchise tag Dez Bryant, it definitely will be to the detriment of the Dallas Cowboys, but it's not because you're going to use the word pout. I think that that has a negative connotation. That's not something I'm going to attach to Dez Bryant in this particular instance.
Wait, let me amend that.
Sure.
His heart won't be in playing football.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's totally fair. What I will say to you, however, is this. First of all, don't think for 1 second that he's going to cave too easily. Don't think that with Rock Nation, with Jay-Z, with Juan Perez and those brothers that are representing him, that they're not in his ear. I think that has a lot to do with why Eugene Parker is gone as opposed to Rock Nation, you know, obviously now being there. It's no knock against Eugene Parker whatsoever. He's seasoned. He's a veteran as an agent. He's exceptional at what he does. We all know this. But at the same time, when you're old school, you sort of have have that mentality that it's about business, which we all can appreciate because that's just the smart thing to do. That's the smart way to go. And deviating from that usually doesn't work to your benefit. I don't care in today's society, previous generations, it doesn't matter. Business is business, and that overrules emotion and all of that other stuff. But you're going to have people that play into Des Bryant's ear by reminding him of his value, what he's worth, and how he shouldn't settle for significantly less anyway than what he is worth. And they are absolutely right to send Des Bryant that message. Here's where it gets interesting. And you bring up pride. And again, we're not talking racial as in a negative connotation in any stretch. I'm just giving you some insight. When you talk about young black men, what corporate America needs to understand is right or wrong, foolhardy or not, the word respect resonates with a lot of dudes, particularly when they consider themselves to be an individual who has earned it. If you are Des Bryant, you led the league in touchdowns. You've been obviously a stabilizing force. You're one of the individuals that helped Tony Romo excel the way that he excelled. Because when all else failed, Jason Witten wasn't the only dude that he was able to go to. It was Des Bryant. As you would say, it was a catch. And because it was a catch, it should have been a catch in Green Bay. They could have very well ended up advancing far deeper in the postseason than they ended up doing. Des Bryant has a lot to do with that. When you consider the fact that another individual who had a lot to do with it by the name of DeMarco Murray is gone after carrying the ball 392 times, after having 450 touches, after sitting there and saving some of the duress and stress and strain that ultimately was scheduled to come the way of a Tony Romo. And Tony Romo is preserved, and Jason Witten is preserved. But DeMarco Murray, who was used up like bad furniture for crying out loud, and then tossed to essentially another team, because even though he went there as a free agent, he wouldn't have had to. Had you taken care of him, if you're Des Bryant, you're looking at it from the perspective that brothers who are taking care of you, you ain't necessarily taking care of us. So those are the kind of messages that resonate with the dude at this particular moment in time. We talk about business, but Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and the Dallas Cowboys, whether directly or tacitly, indirectly, or whatever the case may be, has given the indication that, you know what, we couldn't take care of DeMarco Murray because we got to take care of other dudes. Well, if you're Des Bryant, you're saying, who else is a bigger priority than me? So again, that's where the respect comes in. We're not going to say pouting. We're going to talk about his heart. But his heart is about the fact that I'm a Dallas Cowboy. I'm proud to be a Dallas Cowboy. And more importantly, I'm a reliable Dallas Cowboy. I don't have back issues. You understand? I'm not wondering whether, you're not wondering whether or not I'm going to play on Sunday afternoon. But the guys that you had questions about, although it's the quarterback position and it's incredibly pivotal, and we understand that, Tony Romo at the time had one playoff victory in his career, and he was known, despite his numbers, as somebody who was prone to make big mistakes in big moments, which would impede a team's ability to progress. And they gave this brother $108 million. They did. $55 million guaranteed. You can't then turn around and look at Des Bryant and talk about it's time for you to sacrifice, especially when you've quietly gone about the business of leaking to those that cover the Cowboys by virtually saying, our issue with Des Bryant is that we don't know what he's going to do once he has these guaranteed dollars off the field. These are the kind of things that he was hearing. So it's not just about the money. It's about the faith that he is looking for you to show in him because of his level of production and his commitment to excellence. And he warrants that. He deserves that. And if you franchise tag this brother, you are saying he's not worth the risk. And he's going to take it like that, and he is going to be a problem.
Okay, so back to Jerry Jones' mindset. Let us say that Des says, okay, you have disrespected me. I earned this money and you did not give it to me by this deadline, so we can no longer negotiate for the whole rest of the football season. So Des says, this is it. I'm missing all of training camp. Do you think that with 2 weeks to go, that he would fold and say, I just miss football too much, I'll take my $13 million and go play?
I don't think that with 2 weeks to go in preseason he would do it. I think that before the regular season begins, he probably would do that. But then you also have to take into consideration, and we can't escape this reality. Football is such a violent sport. if you're wondering about your security when you believe it was due you, it's one thing to just play your rookie, you come into the league and you got something to prove. It's another thing when you've done it and now your time has come up and it's time to negotiate a new contract for you and it doesn't get done. Then they franchise tag you for an additional season and now you have the specter of injury hovering over you where you got to go out there and play. You might have some leg issues, some knee issues, some back issues, or whatever the case may be. And where you once were willing to play through all of that, suddenly you're a bit reticent because the organization that you played for, that you've given your heart and soul to, hasn't shown a willingness to reward you for your efforts and your sacrifice. So it's not like he's going to tank it because Des Bryant is a competitor and he's a rough rider. He's going to go on the field and he's going to try to play to the best of his ability. But if I now have to worry about the fact that a year from now I'm not going to get my money because I may not be healthy, then I'm going to be incredibly cautious and reticent and a bit apprehensive. It's going to showcase itself in my game. And suddenly I'm not going to want to take risks. Suddenly going across the middle to catch a pass, you know what? Give me an out pattern. Throw it out, throw a bomb to me. I'm not trying to go over the middle. I'm not trying to get my legs taken out from under me. I'm not trying to take unnecessary risks because I'm trying to get paid. Tony Romo could take that risk because you paid him. Jason Witt could take that risk because you paid him. The offensive line could take those risks because you paid them. Okay? But you're not paying me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that chance. Okay. That's the issue.
Okay, my bottom line to this discussion is what you reported yesterday. Tom Condon no longer, from what you're hearing, involved as the point person.
No, that was direct. By the way, that was directly from Rock Nation.
Yes.
So, yes.
People are negotiating. I don't know. I'm not sure you know how they're going to negotiate. I don't know what hardball they're playing with Jerry Jones. Jerry may not have any option here. He may get pushed into a corner where he'd say, that's just too much. I can't pay that much. I can't go way beyond Calvin Johnson money for this.
But if you're not, but what if you're not asking to go beyond Calvin Johnson? What if you're sitting there and saying that Calvin Johnson's got $44 million in guaranteed dollars? How you gonna come to me with 20? Now, if we had 40 instead of 44, I'm feeling you. Now, okay, we can sit there and waffle and waver and go back and forth. But in the end, if you look at Calvin Johnson and questions about his durability, which you know about, Molly, the fact of the matter is that Calvin Johnson's durability has been, we know Megatron is Megatron. When healthy, he's the best. But the point is that even at his best, there are people who are looking at Des Bryant and saying Des Bryant is in that ballpark. So when you consider the fact that Des Bryant has durability issues over Calvin Johnson, where that's favorable to him,
I agree.
And you combine that with the fact that Calvin Johnson's got $44 million in guarantee, or 48, I think it's 44 or 48. I'm saying if you're Des Bryant, how you going to come to him with 20 or 25? You've got to get up to 40. I mean,
I agree.
You've got to get up to 40. That is fair.
What you got to do is you got to get this done now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bottom line.
That's right.
It's such a